Welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average CEO Lifeline. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Michael and Matthew Kagan, brothers who have founded Nose to Tail Provisions, a brand and product that is regenerative, a superfood experience in the modern world. Our episode today is going to feature being bold in business and how to turn it into success. So, Michael and Matthew, welcome. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and your business?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I guess I'll start it off. Thank you so much for having us, Nicole and Daniela. So yeah, we're brothers. We're from and based in New York City. And just a quick background about me. I guess it's a similar background for both of us, but the way we got into this whole holistic health, alternative health space is through health issues of our own. And to be honest, I think for the vast majority of people in this space, that's how they get into it. Um, for me, it was asthma, and then also Crohn's disease was kind of the factor that pushed me over the edge. The conventional medical treatment, it doesn't exactly work. It puts a band-aid on the problem, but these are, in our case, autoimmune illnesses. They tend to be degenerative, which means they progress. And so if you're putting a band-aid on the problem and you're not addressing the root cause, you might dull down the symptoms. And in any case, the symptoms are still there. So like the medication doesn't help either way with what it's supposed to. And so at a certain point of dissatisfaction, disillusionment with modern treatment in the medical system, you're basically forced to just go out on your own and figure out how you can treat this thing. And we were led down a path that was basically about taking toxins out of your diet and out of the environment. And diet was the major lever, which kind of led me to get off medication to put my autoimmune disease in remission, which was Crohn's disease. And it did the same for my brother. He can expand more on that. And we found that through our case in an animal-based diet, a diet centered around high quality, grass-fed, grass-finished, regeneratively farmed meats, and then organic produce to avoid any pesticides and herbicides that have been sprayed on it, and also a heavy emphasis on organ meats, such as heart and liver, because these are the most nutrient-dense foods on our planet. In my case, I had Crohn's, so I was actually anemic. I was low on iron and a bunch of other nutrients and minerals as well, which they tested me for. So eating these organs, since they provide in a bioavailable form, these nutrients, unlike conventional supplements or pills or whatever, which give you an inorganic form which your body can't use, I was actually able to resolve all my deficiencies, put my autoimmune disease in remission, get off medication. And so that's sort of what led us to found our business, which we see the huge potential in these organ meats, what they can offer to people. But we also see a massive barrier in the fact that no one really knows about organ meats. It's so foreign to people. They've probably never even seen an organ meat, much less do they know how to cook one, much less do they have a desire to cook one. But so many people can be helped by consuming them. And so many people could just enjoy eating them if they were tasty, just like a tasty steak or anything else or jerky. And so we wanted to remove that barrier and sort of bring it to the public and bring it to the mainstream in a familiar way. And so that's what our company does is we have these crisps, which are made from organ meats like heart and liver. And yeah, that's a brief overview. I'll let my brother speak if he wants to add anything.
Yeah, so just to kind of add on my side of the story, it's kind of my brother already hit on everything. The medical caring system of today, it's a very um drug forward approach in the sense that they prescribe you medicine instead of trying to pull the levers in your life that you like intake food or how your energy is, how you're working out, if you're walking, if you're sedentary. So it's not a very food forward approach. So like he said, I struggled with rheumatoid arthritis, so that kind of led me into this path as well. And we found the nutrients in the organ meats was something that's so beneficial and so overlooked that we wanted to make it a basically a low barrier to entry for people. Because the only other option are desiccated pills, which we don't strongly believe in either way. You can't really trust if it's in a desiccated freeze-dried form of a pill. You don't really know if you're getting those bioactive nutrients that exist in the whole food. And by making it into a crisp, which the texture is super familiar to people, it's this very thin, crunchy texture, so it gives it a low barrier to entry. It makes it more appealing for the customer to try to actually get these unique nutrients into their diet. There's a lot of nutrients inside of organ meats that are found uniquely to the organ meat. I know one off the top of my head is in the beef throat, the cartilage itself. There's a unique micronutrient that it's commonly known that you can't find it anywhere because people stopped eating nose to tail. So the medical system of today tries to get you to supplement it. And like my brother said, these supplements, they're not bioavailable. The body doesn't know what to do with them. And when they're in super concentrated doses, it could offset the other kind of nutrients inside of your body because it is all about balance of micronutrients within your body. So yeah, he was spot on saying we're trying to reduce the barrier to entry to try to get these people that are feeling ill, that are trying to like heal their own diseases by introducing these nutrients into their diet.
It's very interesting, and it's a very different concept, right? So, with the title of our podcast today being Bold in Business, your business is definitely bold, right? It's definitely different. So, how would you advise our listeners to spread their message, right? What steps can they take if they're being bold in their business? What can they do to get their message into the hands of their audience?
Yeah. So I guess I could take a first stab at this, Matt, unless you want to.
No, go ahead.
So I guess being bold in your business is you have to find your why, which we just explained our why, and then you have to kind of let that drive you. So, and also being bold, it could be scary sometimes because you're sort of making a decision, just you're guessing most of the time as a business owner, and you're just hoping that it's correct with all the analysis and all the information that you could possibly gather. So like for example, to succeed as a business, you need a differentiated product. You need to have a new product that hadn't been brought to the market yet. If you look at pretty much any successful business, they've somehow differentiated themselves. But with bringing a differentiated product to the market, you're doing exactly that. It's bringing something new, something that people have never reacted to or consumed in some way. And so you don't actually know what that reaction is going to be. It's new and differentiated, but it might be rejected by the market. They might not like it. So you're taking that risk, and essentially to be bold and to accept that risk at the same time, you have to wholeheartedly understand why you're doing it and then lean into that. So like the biggest sort of bold moments that we've had was when our social media, our stories of like our video stories of why we started this business and everything went kind of viral on Instagram and drove a lot of traffic to our business and connected us with a lot of like-minded people, more so than anything else had done. So I would highly advise any business owner, I'm sorry, to leverage social media and lean into their why on that and just fully understand how their differentiated product is going to help the market because it's something so new. They might not know the reaction, but if they understand the pain point of the sort of target demographic or the buyers that they're addressing, they can always create a market for something that didn't exist before.
Exactly. On a similar front, I believe that our brand isn't selling a product, it's selling a message. And that is super important for a brand to actually push forward and try to relate to their customers. Where if you see a brand that's just selling a product with no backbone to it, no story, no why on exactly how they got to the way to the place that they're selling their product in, the customers don't relate and you don't really have that lifetime value customer. You don't have a customer that relates to and wants to repeat buy from you because they don't relate to the message you're selling.
Yeah.
That's wonderful advice. I talk about pain points a lot, right? We, as business owners, you have to relate to pain points. But you said bringing something new to the table, right? That's the being bold part. And you hit it spot on. Can you talk a little bit to our audience about that rejection, right? If I'm a business owner and I'm saying, I want to be bold, I have this message, really want to get it and connect it with my audience, but I'm afraid of rejection. What would you say to them?
Yeah. So the beauty of social media is that there's a lot of buckets of people that you could pretty confidently say that you're in one of them. We found that even if you have a message that goes against the common mainstream media, kind of like ours, like we push the message that all normal food that like a lot of people eat today, like McDonald's or fast food, it's hyper processed, it's not good for you, it's inflammatory, and it's probably one of the root causes of your disease. So obviously, if our posts end up on the social media track, which some of them have on TikTok especially, there is a lot of flack, there is a lot of rejection on our end, and a lot of hate and toxicity. However, the beauty of social media right now is you don't feel like you're alone in the sense that there's always a bubble of people or a bucket of people that relate to the message you're trying to push, whether it be healthy living or some kind of other message that you have and want to push to your audience. That's the beauty of social media algorithms today.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with what my brother said. And to address your question a different way, Nicole, if your product gets rejected to begin with, that's actually a really good thing because the market will essentially tell you exactly what they want. And then you have to be able to adapt to that. And so it pretty much, the market itself guides you. And we've seen our business guide in a certain direction. We didn't receive any type of initial rejection like you described, but it was more so of a slow build up. And we sort of let the social media response and the response from our buyers guide us to where we need to go. So that's pretty much always going to happen. Companies do this type of testing all the time with releasing different products and stuff. They see what performs in the market, and that's pretty much all the established companies do is they have processes to just test stuff out and see if it's going to be profitable for them. So it's different for a small business owner where they might have put a lot of time into like one product and they're really hoping it works, but they do need to hedge that bet somehow. Either produce less inventory, just buy less to begin with, and let the market tell them what they want.
Yeah, and on the same front, don't let criticism, especially constructive criticism, whether it be in a comment section or a DM or anything, don't let that come to you as hate. Because you could always take what these people that are willing to reach out to you and say as criticism and try to improve the product you have. Like for ours, it was the consistency in terms of the thickness and the thinness. It ultimately led us to make the product a lot more thin and a lot more enjoyable for pretty much like the vast majority of people that buy.
That's really great advice. I'd love to hear just along those lines, what other factors that you guys have considered when deciding to make those different moves in your business, those bold moves, as we would call them.
I could take a first stab at this. So building off what my brother said earlier, our business, it's in the alternative health space, which means that it's a smaller space, it's a smaller niche, and there's a lot bigger niche of people with bigger creators, bigger influencers that directly oppose these types of views. People that like to say that no food is bad food or stuff like that we would disagree with. Like, yes, you could have a fully, you don't have to exclude any food groups in your diet. You could eat everything as long as it's well sourced, as long as it's prepared in a traditional way. You could pretty much have any type of diet you want. But there will be people who disagree with that, who maybe say there's no such thing as bad food, don't restrict yourself. And essentially, this is very specific to our bubble that we're in. They sort of like to say that, alternative health may be spreading dangerous misinformation or things like that. And it's sort of a bold move to oppose that, to oppose the status quo and sort of hold our own. And that's sort of, you have to mentally prepare yourself to be able to take a certain amount of flack and hate on social media from just these people who are much bigger and much more established than you. Because in a way, there is no such thing as bad publicity. The people who will support them and respond to them were never going to buy the product to begin with. And the people who happen to see them just based on the algorithm, who do support our message and disagree with them, have now been brought to our product organically without a single dollar spent on marketing. So you just have to prepare yourself mentally to take, I guess, social media hate when it comes to it, and be bold in that way.
Yeah, another bold business move we had, and this is directly correlated to our brand, is we didn't really have a personal brand before starting our actual brand. And right now, our brand itself is heavily intertwined with our personal brands. We don't just post the product and the product updates and what we're going to release in terms of the future timeline of products, but we kind of just post exactly our views on the food, on medical care today, what we think of everything that's going on. So we've basically intertwined our personal brand with our own brand. So with us selling what we sell, that's a very bold move because everything that we say, it's directly tied in to our actual brand. But we're very confident with the kind of space we're in and the kind of message we're trying to push.
So you really have to sort of live the life that you're talking about and live that very authentically because
Yeah, we have
the
to,
brands are intertwined. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
reach for the
I think
most.
that was great advice about talking about, if you're sort of afraid of the hate that you would get in messages and the negative feedback, and that can be very that can be a big deterrent for people. What other advice would you give to our listeners if they are feeling just afraid to sort of take this leap in their business? Do you have any good advice for them that can help them get over that hump?
So are they afraid to take social media hate, or are they afraid to like start the business? Which one do you want me to address?
Start
I
the
think that's,
business.
yeah.
Sorry,
To
Danielle.
start the
Yeah.
business, this
Yeah.
is this is just, this might seem like bad advice to someone who is in that position, but you just have to take action. That's the most important thing. If you just take action and move in the right direction on a daily basis, that's pretty much what got everyone ever where they're at, is just taking action. Like, and in business comes times where everything seems like it's about to go down the drain. Like, it seems like the business itself might be in jeopardy. It seems like there is an unsolvable problem to overcome. And in times like this where most people quit, you have to keep taking action, just keep working in some direction. So like, especially in that beginning time, you just have to start taking action, start doing the work. Like that's the best advice. Whatever it is, anything you do is going to eventually lead you to where you need to be, because there's the market response, then there's also you learning, social media response and everything. It guides you as long as you keep taking that action.
Yeah, it's either day one or one day. And taking those steps immediately and trying to work towards exactly what you have in mind and having that goal in mind and trying to visualize it and affirm that you can actually do it does really help. I remember when my brother and I started running into issues with our business, we've had a lot of problems where we thought like, oh, that's it. Like this is gonna really mess this up. This is gonna bottleneck something for the next couple of months. We both agreed that unless we both quit, we won't fail. Like if you're confident in the product you're trying to push, keep trying. Even if you have to change the formula, even if you have to change something else, the only way you can actually fail is if you stop trying. And you also have to understand you have to have like a mental note of exactly what you're scared when it comes into taking that leap into business. Like if you're scared of showing your face, there's a lot of business models that don't even need you to be on social media that heavily, like Amazon FBA or drop shipping or something like that. So you have to also know like your weaknesses and your strengths when it comes to it.
I
Yeah,
was going
yeah.
to I was going to ask you, like, with it taking the leap, I wrote it down. I understand that you have these health issues and that led you down the path of this product, right? But when it came to sitting down as brothers and saying, let's do this, what was how did that conversation look? I'm just interested to know, was it, you know what, we have these health issues, let's just go for it? How did that come to play where you are today, just from, taking that leap together?
Hmm. I could try to hit on this first. So basically, this whole concept of our brand started in December 2022, and then we actually launched in September of 2023. So it took almost a year to actually get everything formalized. But at that point in our lives, we were feeling a lot better, and we were already living this holistic lifestyle with a huge focus on grass-fed meats and especially organ meats. My brother's anemia was doing a lot better, as well as his Crohn's, and my rheumatoid arthritis was in full remission at that point. And we basically, so the idea started, we sell bison liver crisps right now. The idea started as beef testicle crisps. That was our original foundational idea. And then we worked through that. But basically, we found that in the market, there's a very, very small like supply of people that are selling these organ crisps. And on top of that, the people that sell it, no hate to them, but their formula isn't good. It's a very, very strong liver taste, which is very off-putting to a lot of people. So we saw this gap and we knew we could make it better. And our process is basically as unstreamlined as it gets. But that unstreamlined process, which comes at a higher cost to us, leads to a better product. So we found out that we could pretty much, for a higher cost to us and a slightly higher cost to consumer, we can make a product that hasn't been introduced to the market yet in a lower barrier to entry form as opposed to buying like liver, eating it raw, cooking it, which people aren't accustomed to. We found out that we could do that. So we basically took action. We did the outreach, which took us about like 6 months. It was basically just a lot of putting our heads down and grinding through it in the initial phase, which if you are looking to start a business, especially if you're manufacturing something, you really have to be ready to just put your head down and do the work.
Yeah. And that initial process that you were asking about, Nicole, like the initial conversations and how we started. So we started, and I would recommend anyone looking to start their own business to sort of follow the same path. We didn't really put any investment till at least a few months in. Like we started out just by doing research, just by doing outreach, because we had to get our whole supply chain sorted and figured out, like from zero to like actually having a supply chain until we did a bunch of research, talked to dozens of people. This was like months and months of outreach and just networking and researching. We didn't really put a single dollar into the company until we knew that it was actually feasible. And like my brother was saying, there was just a few competitors in the market, but we differentiated our product because these competitors, they're using beef, just regular cows, whereas we did wild game like bison and elk, which doesn't exist in the market besides our company. So we got our supply chain solid. We figured out that this was something that we could actually do sustainably and grow it over time, and that we were able to make this differentiated product. And once we knew those three things, then we started to put money into the business. Also very slowly, like minimal investment, minimal risk. Only once we actually started to pick up in sales did we start investing more money in. So that way it's like you could lose a lot of time, but either way you won't lose time because like my brother said, our initial idea is not even close to what ended up happening. After we did the outreach, we found out there was like no supply of beef testicle,
Or
believe it or
bison.
not. And
Yeah.
then there was supply of like bison liver, so we sort of pivoted. So yeah, we basically just mitigated our risks and did as much research as possible, and it led us in the right direction.
And just to quickly add on, there's always an easier route, and then there's the correct route. So, like my brother said, people are selling beef, and if we wanted to sell beef instead of trying to differentiate ourselves and sell a higher quality wild game, we could buy that beef. We could have moved up the timeline of when we launched, and we could have all done it for a third of the price for us and the consumer. But what really differentiates us is going above and beyond, getting that larger price point, slightly making it more expensive for the consumer because it's an overall better product. So you also have to realize like there's an easier way to do something, and then there's the right way to do something if you want to actually make it and differentiate yourself within the market.
I love
Yeah,
that.
that's very true. I think Nicole and I have seen that for sure in our business. I think one of the things that I've taken away from our conversation is that you guys have really went against the grain and you have done something that's really revolutionary. I'd love to hear just your thoughts as a final thought for our audience about what it's like to dive into an industry that's really revolutionary and how that means that you're being not your average CEO.
Yeah. I guess I'll take this first. So, as we said before, we were in the space for at least a year and a half, this whole alternative health, holistic health space, before we actually started running a business in the space. So it's like we're part of this very small group of people that's in this space that's growing rapidly. So like whatever however many people are in it within like this year and the last 5 years, it's probably gonna exponentially increase like hockey
Mhm.
stick within the next 5 years. So it was sort of a no-brainer for us to, I guess, make this revolutionary concept because we were already sort of in this revolutionary way of thinking that sort of the mainstream public, the mainstream health system certainly has not caught up to yet. So the only logical next step was to sort of take our passion, just take our entire way of life and turn it into a business.
Yeah, and even if you think that your message goes against the grain, one good thing to do is to look at the trends that are currently ongoing. So we sell grass-fed wild game animals, and the term grass-fed, if you look at the data, I believe in 2013 it was a $200 million market cap on the grass-fed beef industry as a whole, whereas in 2033 it's projected to be around 16.3 billion. So the demand for the actual grass-fed beef itself, which is directly correlated to our business and kind of our health niche, because if you opt for grass-fed meat and you're buying grass-fed meat, you're most likely in this radical health bubble that we're also in. So looking at these trends can help. And even if you think that there's no trends that align with the message you're trying to push with your company, like I said before, the social media algorithms know where to put you. Like everything that you see on your feeds is pretty much tailored directly to the kind of bubble or bucket that you're in social media. And even if you're not in one of those somehow with the actual social media algorithms right now, you can always make a post and you could start the trend as well. So even if you think you're message is so obscure and so out of the ordinary, so against the grain that no one has it yet, you could go viral on any single post trying to describe your message and get that message out there.
I have absolutely related to your message today, and I think that our audience is going to find your advice and your business vastly interesting. So thank you, Michael and Matthew, for joining us today. Can you tell our listeners where they can find more about you?
Yeah, sure. So you can visit our website, nosatailprovisions.com. Everything is sold out right now, but we're working on solidifying our supply because our demand at this time has far exceeded our supply, but more will be in hopefully soon. Our Instagram is nosatail_provisions. Our TikTok is nosatailprovisions. No any other characters. And is there anything else, Matt?
Our X or Twitter is just nose to tail.
Yeah.
That's a yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. And it was wonderful speaking with you.